Hi everyone, welcome to our reading this evening, sponsored by the English Department of the College of Arts and Sciences. We have with us, we're lucky to have with us, Mary Vermillion.
When the elevator doors opened, I saw that the maternity ward lobby swarmed with baby worshippers. Flanked by their own offspring, they bore mylar balloons, bouquets, and every species of stuffed animal. One little hellion parted the crowd, twirling a diaper bag as if it were his partner on Dancing with the Stars. This mayhem was the last thing Anne needed. If only she would stay on the elevator with me and let it take us away. The elevator doors were closing. The diaper bag vanished, then the toddler, then everything but one pink balloon. Had Anne decided I was right? That now was not a good time for her to visit a newborn? No. She thrust her arm between the doors and they slid back open. Some friends spied us and waved. When Anne stopped them, I had no choice. When Anne stepped toward them, I had no choice but to follow. Anne, Inez proclaimed. Mara! She smothered us with hugs. The entire community is here. Even though there were enough people for a pride rally, my girlfriend wasn't among them, nor was Anne's. Inez's partner, Becky, nodded her greeting as she kept watch on their son, Diego, a 3-year-old poster child for ADHD. He was plucking the petals off a bouquet that someone had unwisely allowed him to carry. Diego, Becky said, those are for the new baby. Diego kept plucking. Anne squatted next to him and smiled. Such pretty flowers. May I hold them? He shook his head vehemently. Did you get a haircut? She asked. If he did, it was at Cowlicks or us. So Anne and Mara go to the lab. Of course, they don't find Grace. So Anne goes and does something else. Mara keeps looking, and then I'll just read this tiny little bit. They've looked all throughout the lab except for the cryo room, which is what this place where these containers are stored is called usually. So I cracked the door open and squinted through the darkness. When Grace had shown me the room, I'd been creeped out by the metal canisters, some of them nearly my height. The freezer that held the sperm looked like a giant cauldron, especially when Grace opened its lid and liquid nitrogen smoked into the air. So cold it burns, she had said. I pushed the door open a few more inches. Light from the hallway illuminated rows of perfectly aligned canisters. They were not an evil metallic army or a stainless steel coven, I told myself, just evidence of Grace's desire for order. I opened the door the rest of the way. Anne gasped, and after that, I heard nothing but my own blood thrumming through my ears. I saw nothing but Grace, surrounded by the canisters she'd tended for so many years, crumpled on the concrete floor. So, poor Grace meets her end in the cryo room. And so Zoe, of course, is a suspect because she's in the lab when the murder occurs. And sort of an interesting relationship develops between Mara and Zoe. And so I think I'll just read you a little tiny piece with Zoe in it. And Mara's at work in this scene at the radio station. With her hair down, Zoe looked even younger than she had at the hospital, and her standard teen wear, layered shirts and flared jeans, added to the effect. Shoulders humped, she folded her arms over her chest and fixed her eyes on me. Your friend Vince says you're good at finding out the truth. I tilted my head in acknowledgement. I want you to help me find my donor dad, Zoe said, my birth father. I remained quiet, this time out of surprise. Vince says, you want to find out who killed that doctor, Zoe continued. Well, I can help. I overheard some stuff when I was at the hospital, but I haven't told the police. My father, Judge Hargrove, said not to admit I was there. What did you hear? First, you gotta promise to help me find my donor dad. Zoe looked at me, her blue eyes wide. I wondered how Grace had felt when Zoe confronted her. She tried to get the number a more civilized way than dressing up as a custodian. I wondered how Grace had felt when Zoe confronted her, demanding to know her donor's identity. Grace favored open donors, yet she respected the privacy of closed ones because the system depended on them. She'd devoted her life to that system, possibly given her life for it. Would she want me to muck with it in order to increase my odds of finding her killer? I'm not going to ask him for money or mess up his life. I just want to know who he is. The doctor who was murdered was my good friend. I wanted to believe Zoe. I wanted her to be innocent, to offer me a nugget of information that would help me find Grace's killer. Do we have a deal or don't we? Tell me what you heard, I said, and we'll see. Once I tell you, you'll have no reason to help me. If you can't trust me, why would you want me to? She twisted another ring and studied me. Promise not to tell the police. Great. Then I'd be obstructing justice, or worse, helping Grace's killer. If you do, I'll deny it, Zoe's voice quavered. I had to give the kid her props. She knew what she wanted, and she was determined to get it. I asked her to have a seat, and this time she did. Pulling up a chair next to her, I explained that my first priority was finding Grace's killer. The donor search would come second. Zoe started to protest, but I cut her off. Take it or leave it. She nodded sullenly, and I reminded myself that she was only 15. I'm not a private investigator, I said gently. I've never tried to locate a sperm donor. We might not find him. I know. I didn't want to squash her dreams, just ease her disappointment if we failed. But you have my word, I said. I'll give it a good shot. Your best shot. My best, I agreed. After I got it, she said. The doctor comes first. She extended her hand to me stiffly. I'd never made such a pact before, and as we shook, I hoped I wouldn't regret it. By the time the sketch was done and I'd convinced the artist to give me a copy, this is a sketch of Zoe, I was starving. Buying me the nearest vending machine starving. The artist told me I'd find one at the bottom of the stairs. You can't miss it, he said, but apparently I could. I strode down a long hallway lined with closed doors and metal chairs. I passed a bulletin board plastered with pictures of missing children, and then I finally discovered another set of stairs and the vending machine itself. But who stood between me and a roll of chocolate donuts? Reverend Leo Spires. He was thumping the machine and uttering the Lord's name in a distinctly unministerial fashion. Have you lost? When I was a child, well, I wrote really bad rhyming poetry. We're all glad I quit that. But the first thing I remember taking real pleasure in writing was my own version of an Encyclopedia Brown story. Do you all, you're probably, some of you know Encyclopedia Brown. He was just this really smart kid who would solve little mysteries. They weren't actual corpses. But growing up, I loved Nancy Drew. I loved watching Agatha Christie. I always loved reading mystery novels. They're still my favorite thing to read. Then I went to grad school, and I thought, oh, I should be serious. and also I should get a job. And so I wrote a lot of literary criticism, which I do enjoy, but it's not the same kind of pleasure as writing a mystery novel. I wrote some short stories, and I do enjoy stories as well, but still not as much as any kind of novel, actually, let alone mystery novels. And then when I got tenure, I thought, you know, I should just write the kind of thing that I love the most. And so I gave it a go, and I had so much fun doing it. So I think if you're going to write, you should write the kind of thing you love. I wished I'd done it. I wish I'd kept writing those Encyclopedia Brown things and not taken time off from it.